It is Friday, March 7th, and we are live here on PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. Myself, Andrew McGinnis, and Carmine Bianco. And it being Friday, March 7th also means it is trade deadline day in the NHL. Some might argue trade deadline day is a little bit too late into the season, but nonetheless, it's been pretty dramatic and pretty exciting to follow. I have not been feeling too well this week, but I could not miss this show to kind of end the week out and close the week out and also look at some of the trades that we have seen. So, Carm, good to be here with you, brother, as always. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm getting some NBA vibes from this NHL trade deadline that some teams are just going all in, and some people might say, hey, they're giving up way too much for this guy, but you have to give up a lot if you want to get something. And right now we've seen a lot of teams make it very clear, like the Avalanche, that they are buyers at the deadline.
They definitely are. I think I think there's still moves to be made, but I think the Avs pretty much are done making that move and all those assets that went. I think they took themselves out of the Brad Marchand talks. We could still see him move today. We still could see Rantanen. The Rantanen one's becoming a little tougher because he's got like a $14 million contract as well too, I believe. So it makes it a little tougher on teams for you know the rental fee down the stretch. So we'll see what happens today. There's been moves all week. We got until 3 o'clock today. I always say, and I said it a couple of days ago, keep an eye on the lines today for some teams that are playing tonight. Because if you see a lot of movement in the lines, could be players that are either on their way to a new destination, and those teams playing tonight are going to be shorthanded. It's not the normal sort of 11 or 12-6 on the bench. It could be something where it's a 10-5 situation. So we'll see what happens. But it was a pretty good slate of NHL action last night. I enjoyed watching them. Andrew, I stayed up and watched your Montreal Canadiens, hoping that they would win in Edmonton and grab another point. They're smack dab in the playoff race. They're playing some very good hockey right now. The Canadiens are, and they almost got the best of the Edmonton Oilers. Unfortunately, goal with 7 seconds left in that game. I wanted to see a shootout. It would have been good. But we're going to talk Winnipeg, New Jersey. We're going to talk Detroit, Washington. We're going to talk Pittsburgh and Vegas. No props today, but we do have the 6 and 60 segment. I'm looking forward to it. Andrew, you've been off a couple days this week. We held you out of the lineup. We were looking to make a move and trade you to WagerTalk Today program at the top of the hour, but they wanted to send us the Prez and a 10-minute segment on Netflix and what to watch and not to watch. So Dan, the producer, nixed that deal. So you're stuck with us on PuckTime, man. We're glad to have you back. How you feeling?
Man, I swear, Carm, it's just like if it was like the middle of the day we did the show and we didn't need the shelf life, I'd be fine. But it's always like start of the day and like at night, it's horrible and I can't sleep. I'm already a night owl as it is. A pole across the street from me goes down yesterday, so I lose internet and cable. So I can't. I'm streaming on my phone watching the Habs game. It's just brutal. I'm literally using a hotspot from my phone right now to do this show. It has just been awful. It has been a bad week. But as we talk about, I mean, the amount of trades that we've seen, the different things going on. Brock Nelson gets moved. Mikko Rantanen making it very clear that he is not going to stay in Carolina. How foolish does that team look, Carm? How foolish do they look that they didn't realize before they traded for him? Meanwhile, Martin Necas is lighting it up, and I mean lighting it up in Colorado with that team. How crazy would it be if he ends up in Dallas and they play against Colorado, Rantanen in a Stars uniform against the Avalanche? Would be something special. And then Marchand, it's been made very clear that the Bruins are probably going to trade him. But from the way I look at it, a lot of times when guys from the East get moved, the same thing we saw with Brock Nelson, and they gave up a lot, the Avalanche, for Brock Nelson. Typically, they don't trade within their conference or their division. If a big name player gets traded, typically they go towards a different conference. But Karma, I've just had nothing but time, honestly. I haven't really been doing a whole lot. I've been just listening to podcasts, listening to trade stuff. Um, so it's exciting to actually be the one talking some hockey right now. So I'm ready to jump into the games and hear any thoughts you have on some of these trades as well.
Yeah, and listen, we're going to hear it all day today. I'm pretty sure after I'm on Wager Talk today as well too, and discussing three games. And after that, I'll be watching. I'll be doing some work for the weekend and watching the TSN trade deadline, the show, to see what moves are coming, which ones aren't, and trying to get ahead of some of the numbers, obviously for Saturday and for Friday night. But we do have three games to discuss, and we're going to kick it off with the Winnipeg Jets and the New Jersey Devils. Andrew, I've got some numbers, and I'm going to use them on Wager Talk today a little later on. But the Jets win yesterday, a big win for them, for a team that had been struggling a little bit. And congratulations to Don Buster, who had a 5% play on the Winnipeg Jets yesterday. I want to say this one about Winnipeg. I get it. Jack Hughes injured for the Devils and gone for the season, but the Winnipeg Jets, Andrew, have had one of the most, if not the most, favorable schedules all year long. They have only had to play 4 back-to-backs all season long. Sorry, 6 back-to-backs all season long, and only 4 situations where they're playing 3 games in 4 nights, tonight being the 5th situation for these teams. I'm going to get to those stats in a bit, but I want to see how you're breaking this one down.
Well, the way I look at it, Carm, is that I think that it's, first of all, like you said, they've had a pretty good schedule. I think this is one of those spots, though, where despite the fact that Comrie was the starter last night, so it will be Hellebuck today, we've seen money come in overnight on Winnipeg as the Devils were kind of the more of the favorite at the beginning, and then we saw money come in this on the Jets team here. 5.5 as the total as expected. There's going to be teams that we're going to be able to bet against consistently down the stretch because of injury or because they're out of it. I think a lot of people are writing off this Devils team. I think this is a Devils team that, in general, is going to miss Jack Hughes in a really, really big way. When you're betting on Devils games, if you're looking to bet props on Devils games, you're pretty much always betting something to do with Jack Hughes. But people forget they still have some great players. They still have Timo Meier. They still have Nico Hischier. They still have some really good goal scorers on that team, Jesper Brad and all kinds of good players. So I do think that they get up for this game. I do think that they take advantage of the fatigued version of the Winnipeg Jets. And I think that when I look at the Devils and some of the games that they've played recently, they're going to be as hungry as can be. And, this is going to be a spot for them where, they've been doing some traveling as well. That game they played against Vegas, they're not going to be happy about that one. But they're at home now in this one. And we always say, like, first game back at home can be tough. But to me, the first game back at home is tough if you had a successful road trip. This was very unsuccessful. You lose 5-1 to the Avalanche. You lose that one to the Knights. Of course, you lose that one to the Stars. Couple days rest here for the Devils. I'm going to take them as kind of small dogs in this one. I know that we can't fade every team in a second half of back-to-back. I know that it's not a profitable proposition to say, well, they're on a second half of back-to-back. They're probably going to lose. But I do think this is a good spot for the Devils.
Andrew, I tend to agree. Listen, I get it. It's a big miss having Hughes out, and we'll see what happens with the Devils if they're even a buyer at the trade deadline today. I would think that they would want to pick someone up because that Metro division is going to be tough to get out of. And you look at this team, they lose to the Dallas Stars 4-3. They were about to pick up a point in that game before Hartley scores with like 4 or 5 seconds left in the game, in a game in which the Devils battled back. Now they're back at home. They need to get through the opening 20 minutes of the game because, I talk about how they struggle at home in the opening 20 minutes of the game. But you look at it, and it was Comrie last night. It's going to be Hellebuck in goal tonight for them. But Winnipeg, in the second of a back-to-back, four different situations, six different situations this year. They are 1-5 in the second of a back-to-back. That is Winnipeg, and they are 1-3 when playing their third game in 4 nights. Both apply here in this game. Now, normally we would see, as far as back-to-backs go, you would see the starter start in the first game and um, which would have been Hellebuck yesterday, and then Comrie in the second one. But there's been occasions this season where they haven't done that. So it's either been Hellebuck both times or Comrie actually starting one. So a couple numbers, as I mentioned, that for such a great season that the Winnipeg Jets have had, these are losing numbers on them. 1-3 in the third and 4 nights, and 1-5 in the second of back-to-backs. That's a little troubling. So we'll see what this team has, because they haven't played stellar hockey, Andrew, since our post break. They lose to New York Islanders. They lose to the Flyers in Winnipeg, mind you, and they lost to Nashville, not scoring many goals as well too across those games. So they found 4 against the Philadelphia Flyers last night, but the Flyers are a team that do allow goals. So we'll see what happens tonight. New Jersey, I think, is a better defensive team than the Flyers are. We'll see if they can play. It's playoff hockey for New Jersey right now as well too. So I'll take the plus money with the Devils as well. Red Wings are a team, Andrew, that are not playing playoff hockey, unfortunately. I faded the Red Wings yesterday. It wasn't really a fade on the Red Wings, more so than it was a play on Utah for me. I mentioned a little over a week ago that I would be on Utah for a few games over the stretch leading up to the trade deadline, because they're not going to be a seller at the trade deadline. If anything, they were probably going to try and add a couple pieces. They're playing well. They're within shooting distance, of those wild card spots, and they get the job done in Detroit yesterday. Now the Wings hit the road, take on a Washington team. Andrew, how you playing this one?
Well, Carm, the expression we always say, is must win doesn't mean will win. And that's just the fact with some of these teams right now, like Detroit, is that people are going to take them and they're going to take certain teams because they have to win, because every game is very important to them. Well, I would argue every game's important to the Capitals too. They want to keep playing well. They're trading some new pieces. I just saw an alert right now live on PuckTime that the Capitals have potentially acquired Anthony Beauvillier. So another power forward to add to this Washington Capitals roster, another depth piece to add to this Washington Capitals roster that just continues to build. And, Carmen, when you look at a guy like Ovechkin, that's currently having a phenomenal year, chasing the great ones record, but people don't really talk enough about the great players that are around him right now. I mean, Ovechkin could have an off night. A lot of his counterparts could have an off night, and this team could still win, and this team could still be very successful. I wanted to get to just really quick Detroit and their playoff to make the playoff odds. I'm seeing plus 400 for the Red Wings to make the playoffs. Canadians plus 425. Senators minus 220. Rangers minus 115. So it's really interesting. And the Columbus Blue Jackets plus 160. So, Carm, as it stands right now, nothing has changed from what the odds makers believe. They still believe that the Senators and the Rangers, according to the favorites in this wild card hunt, the Rangers and Senators, which is kind of shocking. They think that the Blue Jackets are going to fall out of that spot. We'll see what happens when it comes to that one here. But of course, the Capitals not playing since Wednesday. They won 3-2 in overtime. And the thing is, Carm, when a team wins a game that they probably shouldn't have won, and maybe I won't say they shouldn't have won it, but it definitely wasn't their best game. I just think we get an absolute focused team here. with the Washington Capitals. And so, again, second half of back-to-back, this is a spot that I want to go against the Red Wings. I wouldn't be shocked to see goals overall. But when I look at the team total here, 3.5 minus 125 for the Capitals is a bit intriguing. For the Red Wings, it's 2.5 minus 125 to the over. So if you like them, you could bet that. But to me, the over 6.5 or over 6, depending on where you're shopping, is the way to go here. I'm looking for an action-packed game. This is one that I do expect goals in.
Yeah, and I don't want to say I'm going to go mano a mano with you on this one, Andrew. I was I was looking at the over originally, and then started to lean to the under when I just saw like some of the numbers on Detroit. And the problem with Detroit right now is they're not scoring goals. It seems to have dried up. Now they're winning on the road, but even then they weren't scoring a ton of goals. I think they have like 8 goals in their during 8 or 9 goals during this 4-game losing streak of theirs. I'm just gonna have a quick look at it, but yeah, they've scored. Um, Bear with me. Sorry about that, Andrew. I had to click screens. But yeah, only 5 in 2 games against Columbus, a team that normally allows a lot of goals and plays some high scoring games. They only get 1 against Carolina and 2 last night. So 8 goals during this 4-game run. You don't want to, if you're playing well defensively, it's one thing. You can get away with winning 3-2 type games. If you're not playing well defensively, then averaging under 2 goals a game is not a remedy for getting wins. You talked about like the playoff, and I can see that as far as the Rangers go, even though they're tied with Ottawa for that last playoff spot, 1 point behind Columbus. The advantage here is, and I've discussed it before, is that I believe that the 7th or 8th spots, there's going to be some ties that come into that last game of the season, or not even the last game of the season, where we're going to get into tiebreakers because it is so close and so many teams within 7 or 8 points. The New York Rangers have 29 regulation wins. That is the first tiebreaker. Ottawa, 23 regulation wins. Columbus, 22 regulation wins. Montreal, 21. Detroit, 22. So that's why the Rangers, if the Rangers finish in 7th or 8th and they're tied with anybody, they're in. Their regulation wins are going to get them into the playoffs. Ottawa's at 23 right now. The thing with Columbus, and I can get that, the Columbus schedule to close out the season, Andrew, it is not littered with playing the free space on the bingo card, the Buffalo Sabres. They have some tough games, and over the course of the next week, you look at the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're in New York to play the Rangers, in New Jersey to play the Devils, home to play the Vegas Golden Knights, home to play the Rangers, home to play the Devils again, and then they have Florida. That is a tough 6 or 7 game stretch before they play the Penguins in Pittsburgh. So they're going to have to play. Not even 500 hockey is good there. They're going to have to win at least 4 of those 6 games to retain a playoff spot right now. And I'm not sure they can do it. Getting back to, sort of this Red Wings one, they're just not scoring goals. I could see Washington strangling them again in a second of a back-to-back, and it's a lower scoring game. So much like I like the Calgary game to stay under the total against Dallas and it got there yesterday, I'm looking sort of the same way here. I think this total probably could have been a 5.5 juiced to the over, but it's at 6, and at 6 I'm going to take the under. I don't see them getting to 7 here. So maybe we are mano a mano on this one, Andrew. It took me a while to get there, a good 3 or 4 minutes to get there, but yes, we're mano a mano on this one.
I just wonder if, like, is there a chance, like, if I told you Detroit was able to play well in this game and they beat the Capitals, is there a world that we live in? Is there a planet in this universe that they beat the Capitals without the game going over? And I think that if the Capitals, I get it, you're right, they could probably shut down the Red Wings and win 3-1, but they didn't play well yesterday, Red Wings. Their last couple games, they haven't looked well. I mean, if there's going to be a desperation spot, it's probably going to be this one. But like you said, they could very well just get absolutely shut down. How demoralizing would that be, though? I mean, for what you just talked about, Carm, if they get shut down like that, I mean, what else can they do? Obviously, the Capitals are a good team with good goaltending, but if they get shut down, it's not good. Trade. We just had a trade, and I like breaking these trades. I feel like a guy on an insider right
Yes.
now.
Do
Dylan
it.
Cousins from your Buffalo Sabres, and I'm not happy because I wanted him in Montreal. He is off to the Ottawa Senators. He is a centerman. He's a scrappy centerman, a good two-way guy. He's a guy that is on a 7-year contract. He is on year 2 of his 7-year contract. He was underperforming, but of course he's playing on the Sabres, so everybody's underperforming there. Josh Norris is going back to Buffalo, and a couple other guys going to Buffalo as well. So big move from Ottawa. Didn't really see that one coming, and the trades are absolutely flying in right now here on trade deadline day. So it's exciting. And Carm, we'll see. That was half the reason yesterday. I had 3% play. I played Nashville, and I heard that a couple guys were being left out of the lineup for Seattle for trade purposes or rest purposes. And I just think that Nashville was one of those teams that was going to probably come alive when it was too late. They got the job done for me. But yeah, the trades, man. If you guys want your futures, get them in now. And again, another reason why the Ottawa Senators were minus 220 to make the playoffs, because they were going to be one of the more active teams. Like, this is the thing. I've been having fun watching this race. As a Canadians fan, next year is the year to try and make the playoffs. They don't even have a second line center right now. Kirby Dach's injured. He hasn't really been, he's the worst plus minus on the team anyway. Next year is the year to pick somebody up. Your Buffalo Sabres had to trade somebody. It's good for them. And this Red Wings team is going to be in shambles, though. To try and circle back to the Red Wings, they're going to be in shambles if they don't make the playoffs, because they've been just right there for the last 3 years.
So are you saying the Sidney Crosby to Montreal Canadiens deal does not happen today? Is that what you're
Yeah, I
saying?
wish.
Is that what you're
I
saying?
wish.
Can you imagine Brad Marchand to the Toronto Maple Leafs, a franchise and a fan base that absolutely hate the guy, but the minute he puts on that white and blue, they're going to absolutely love him. That's not going to happen. But we should see
West Coast.
some. We definitely should see some interesting ones. And listen, I've been cheering for the Red Wings to make the playoffs all year. Every time we think about pronouncing a team DOA, they somehow find a way to string some wins together. Pittsburgh did it last year, but just missed out on the playoffs by a point. The Wings play tonight in Washington, then they play at Ottawa, and then they're home against the Buffalo Sabres. The funniest thing is that a 3-game win streak by the Detroit Red Wings, and boom, they're back in a playoff spot, and everyone is loving life again. So anything is possible. Maybe even winning 2 out of 3 games for Detroit. Somehow win 2 out of 3 games in this Washington Ottawa, which is probably the most important one of the 3, because it is a team directly in front of you that you need to hop over or leap over to get into a playoff spot. And then they're home against the Buffalo Sabres, who, come on, the Sabres are, I hate using that word live on these shows, but they're ass. This is a team that's given up somehow. Andrew, we were texting during that Tampa game yesterday that what are the Sabres doing? They gave Tampa all they could handle, and Tampa still beat them 6-5 in that game. But go Red Wings! If on Monday they are still alive in this playoff race, I'll wear my Red Wings Patrick Kane jersey all week on the show. How's that for you, Andrew? All right, Pittsburgh and Vegas. Andrew, I'm going to make this simple because I talked about this before. The puck line for me for Vegas. I took them on the show when they played the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I said to you guys at the time, Vegas's last 11 wins at home have all covered the puck line, and then they beat the Leafs 5-2. 12 wins. 21-11 at home on the puck line, one of the best puck line records in the NHL other than Anaheim. And it's even money on the -1.5 here against a Pittsburgh team that I think is pretty much done. 4 points ahead of the Sabres in that battle for the last spot. 12-0 on the puck line, their last 12 wins on home ice. I'm taking I'm taking Vegas -1.5. What about you?
I mean, you talked about it the last time we were on the show together, Carmen, on that exact same game against the Leafs. I was on the team total over. This Vegas team at home is just a different beast. And, the funny thing is about the Pittsburgh Penguins is I was watching an interview with some Colorado players yesterday, and they said they didn't even play well in that game against Pittsburgh. The Avalanche players said they didn't play well in that game, and they won 4-1. So imagine if the Avalanche players played well, because they win 4-1, and apparently they weren't a good team that night. So that's never a good thing if you lost 4-1 and your opponent says that you didn't play very well. But it's hard to argue, Carmen. I got, you know what? We didn't do the prop segment today, but there were a few that I liked here. This one's kind of interesting. Mark Stone, over 1.5 shots on goal, has hit in 8 of his last 10 home games. Thomas Hertl, to record at least 1 point, has hit in 9 of his last 10 games. Sidney Crosby, 5 of his last 6 games played against the Vegas Golden Knights, over 2.5 shots on goal has come through. And there was one more that I liked, and it was a pretty good price if I can find it, because I bet this last game, and I'm going to bet it again if it's a good price again here. Where is this guy? Howden. Howden is his name, and we're going to get a pretty good price here again. This is like a plus 125, Carm, on this guy. I'm going to take him to record a point for the Vegas Golden Knights. When it ultimately comes down to it, we saw a really fast start in the last Vegas game against the Maple Leafs, and Toronto just wasn't able to catch back up. The funny thing is, we saw the Penguins struggle in their game offensively. I don't think it's going to get much better. I kind of lean towards the under in this one, just because I feel like Vegas is going to beat the Penguins, but the Penguins are going to lose with like a little bit more pride. I know that sounds funny to say, but I could see this game being a little bit more low scoring and defensive. If the Penguins realize they've got no offense, they might as well play a little bit of defense. And when you're coming off a thrashing like they are against the Avalanche, despite getting some empty net goals maybe, I think this one could be kind of a lower scoring one a little bit and see the under hit. What would be one of those ones where I wouldn't talk anybody off the team total under for the Penguins, because who knows what the hell Vegas is going to do tonight. But I don't think we're going to see Pittsburgh score that much. It is Friday. We always call it Freaky Friday. Who knows what's going to happen with some of these underdogs, but I don't have much faith in this team. They play so well, Vegas, at home, Carm, as you've mentioned. I don't want to go against them. But a couple props kind of interesting. Sidney Crosby plays pretty well against the Golden Knights. Mark Stone over 1.5, and Thomas Hertl recording a point tonight. Maybe we'll see what happens when you toss all 3 of those plays together into one for a nice little Friday pay. That's all I have for this game. I'm hoping it's going to be kind of a closer one than the odds makers dictate for the under, but I also hope you cash that puck line ticket as well. Carm, in the afternoon, next couple hours, I'm going to start looking at Saturday's slate after I finish up handicapping today and figuring out the exact picks that I want to get down on. But you've already looked ahead at some games for Saturday. And of course, with teams making moves, there's definitely a clear-cut team to bet on and bet against these days. Which teams are you betting on for Saturday?
All right. The 6-60. After a strong run in the 6-60, last week was a down day, so we're going to try and pick it up here because it's been a good run for me the last 30 days in NHL for my clients, 29.2 units. I made fun of Brian on yesterday's show, Andrew, saying that I'm on a good run, and then I look at the last 7 and 30 days, and Brian's ahead of me in the standings. In the number 1 spot, but I leapfrogged him yesterday after going 2-0 and picking up some units. So we'll see if we can carry that over to the 6-60, which is going to take me longer than 60 seconds today. I can just tell by my notes. But our fearless producer, Dan, will slow down that clock for me, I'm certain. So, Dan, away we go. Tampa and Boston. Tampa 10-1 their last 11, all regulation wins in those 10 games, including 7-0 at home, all in regulation. Tampa regulation over Boston. Buffalo and Florida, Panthers puck line. Panthers are 9-1, their last 10 at home. 7 of those have been by 2+ goals. Montreal and Calgary. I'm taking Montreal here at plus money. Flames first back after a 6-game road trip. Canadians 5-0-1, their last 6. They're playing playoff hockey right now and are a live dog. St. Louis, LA Kings taking the under here. Kings are struggling to find goals right now. Blues are 5-1-1 post break and playing extremely well. Back-to-back games in LA between these two. Blues won the first one 3-2. Dallas and Edmonton, Stars 6-1 post tournament break. Oilers 2-5. I'm riding the hotter team. Give me Dallas money line, and then we'll end it with the Islanders and San Jose. I'm taking the Islanders money line. They need to win these games on the West Coast. They play the Sharks. They play Anaheim and then the LA Kings. They need at least a couple wins there. They're in a playoff race. Let's take them on the money line. That's your 6-60.
There you go, Carm. You said you weren't going to get it. You said you weren't going to get it. You got it on the ball, right there on the money.
Almost got it in there. You know, the Isles, just looking at some of them, Andrew, like the Isles are, they can't afford to come away with only 2 points on this 3-game road trip. They play the Sharks tonight. They play the Anaheim Ducks and they play the LA Kings. If they can get wins in the first 2 against the Sharks and Ducks, and then go into LA, and LA is still struggling, they could 3-0 road trip on the West Coast and then head back home where most of their games the rest of the season will be on the East Coast. Would be huge for this team in that run to the playoffs. So there's a lot of teams to leapfrog. The Edmonton one, you saw it yesterday. Everyone keeps waiting for Edmonton to wake up post-tournament break. I don't want to step in front of Dallas. Dallas is playing well right now. The only way you could step in front of them is if you were just guessing that the Edmonton Oilers are going to be better. Oh, yeah, this is the Edmonton Oilers. They're a good team. They've got to beat Dallas. They might beat Dallas, but you're not going to put your money on the do factor. The do factor is not a handicapping tool. Your Montreal Canadiens, Andrew, 5-0-1. They could have been a perfect 6-0. They're playing some really good hockey right now. And you said it. They're a team that is tooling up to hopefully make the playoffs next year or the year after, but they're still in the mix. They're in the mix, and you have to give it to them. Sometimes teams don't know they're not supposed to make the playoffs. Case in point, the Washington Capitals last year, they somehow made it into the playoffs, -40 goal differential. They got into the playoffs. They didn't last very long, but hey, kudos to them because they're having a great season this year. The Buffalo one, did they leave it all on the ice against Tampa Bay last night, scoring 5 goals after Tage Thompson called the team out? The game before, who knows? But Florida is playing great hockey right now. I just don't see a surprise happening there. And then the Bruins might think they're in a playoff race, but I think they're a seller today in the trade deadline, and Tampa's just playing some phenomenal hockey. You said it to me, Andrew, off air. Tampa Bay and Florida, they are tooling up in that Atlantic Conference, and they're playing extremely well. So, any thoughts? Any landmines in these 6 games that I just reeled off?
I mean, geez, good luck picking games involving Edmonton because, like you said, it's the do factor of guessing on when they're going to play well, but you also don't know what the hell you're going to get from that team any given night. So who knows with them? I like the Habs one there, Carm, and hopefully we can see a good Saturday of picks for both of us because I'm looking forward to that slate. And honestly, a lot of things that we see in the NHL for people that are like kind of fans of the NBA and MLB. One thing about the NHL is the players that get traded today, they're going to be on a plane and they're going to be playing tomorrow with their teams. They don't wait. They don't wait till they get a practice in. They don't wait till they get acclimated with their team. They get right into the game. So, whether you want to bet on or against the team because of team chemistry or you think it'll fit in right away. Like I remember when the Carolina and Colorado trade happened, Martin H.S. and Mikko Rantanen, I remember the day it happened, Carm, Carolina won and Colorado won, right? Sometimes a team gets a spark from signing a new player. So wouldn't be shocked to see some teams play really well when they get when they have success after picking up new players. All right, Carm, I'm going to get my best bet out of the way. Um, I'm looking forward to a big weekend, guys. We're slow, low volume here. 3-1 last 4 games this week. Cash 3% winner last night on Nashville. They win that one 5-2. I got one best bet for today. We'll see if I end up adding more at WagerTalk.com. But my best bet for the show purpose is going to be team total under 2.5 for the Minnesota Wild. Minus 110 price here against the Vancouver Canucks. Carm, I just believe that this Canucks team, they're going to show pride down the stretch, whether or not they make the playoffs. Them and I think the Predators are going to be like two teams that people just like forget about down the stretch, and then they start playing good hockey when it's too late. I get that vibe out of the Canucks. That Pettersson has not been strong. Besser, some of these guys have not been good, especially since JT Miller traded away. But defensively, they've been all right, and I feel like they're going to show up for this game. Minnesota, to me, they just battled way too many injuries lately. Their offense has cooled off a little bit. I'll look for Vancouver to shut down the Minnesota offense. Team total under for the Wild. Carm, feel free to close things out after your best bet.
Yeah. All right. I wish you the best of luck, Andrew. It's some very good games going on Saturday and Sunday. I will have a big play up in the NHL for Saturday. Get it up a little later this afternoon while I'm watching the trade deadline, which ends, of course, at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. But as far as my best bet, I'm going right back to that Vegas and Pittsburgh game. It's tough to ignore that 12-0 run for the Vegas Golden Knights. Last 12 home games. The last 12 home wins, sorry, we're going to get this straight. The last 12 home wins have all been by 2 or more goals. It is even money on the puck line against Pittsburgh team that is not going to make the playoffs this season. Hopefully this is another nail in the coffin for the Penguins tonight with a 2-goal win by the Vegas Golden Knights, who are making a push for that number 1 seed behind both Dallas and Winnipeg. So they're making that push. Another win here, 2+ goals. Guys, a couple plays up at WagerTalk today in the NHL. I'll have a 5% play loaded up for Saturday, and you can still use that coupon ICE100. The office is extended until Sunday at midnight. ICE100 will get you $100 off the rest of the NHL regular season and playoffs as well, to 24-12, up 29 units, 29 plus units in the last 30 days in NHL. It's number 1 at WagerTalk. So let's keep that run going. WagerTalk, top of the hour, guys. We've got a couple surprises on that show with the Prez today, so make sure you guys tune in. We'll be back on Monday. For myself, Andrew McInnes, and Dan Alexander, our producer. This is Puck Time. Have a great weekend.